right side of it. Oh, you prefer right. I'm higher here, that's all.
You would, jump in. No, please.
Or do you want me to wait?
No, jump in. Bryson, if you want to be in shot, you'll need to dig a very, very deep hole, mate.
Don't do that on
Almost as tall as my cameraman.
Exactly. That was project worthy. Audio level testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. David Crisafulli testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're good to go. Good morning, everyone. Today marks 300 days since the families of Gladstone were denied the service to have a baby where, when and how they choose. It's been 300 days of uncertainty, 300 days of women playing Russian roulette and having to drive to Rocky, and 300 days of broken promises. And we are here because a community of this size and of this importance deserves the right to have a maternity service that caters for the needs of a growing community. And we're not going to go away on this. This is important and it matters. Some of the women that we will be speaking with today and listening to their stories are the same faces that Ros and I spoke to and listened to when we had our town hall here. And it was there that we met Gemma Manwaring, and you'll hear from Gemma in a moment, and I want to thank you for what you've done. Brave women stood up that day and told about their stories, about their uncertainty. I met people who love living here and were contemplating having to move because they were due to have a child and they weren't sure whether or not it was safe to stay in the community. That is not the choice that young families should have to make. We should be encouraging people to move to regional areas. We should be encouraging people to want to set up camp and be part of the growth that comes with living in a beautiful part of the world like this. And in the modern era, women have the right to have a baby where, when and how they choose. And after 300 days of broken promises, that right has been taken away from this community. And we are not going to give up. We are not going to walk away from this. And if this is still going in 100 days' time, we'll be back to prosecute the case again. This matters to Queenslanders. They deserve a world-class health system no matter where, when and how they wish to have a baby, and they deserve a world-class health system no matter where they live. I'm going to hand over to Ros in a moment, but I just want to make the point. We are here and will continue to come back. The Premier's not here today, the Health Minister's not here, and the local member's not here. And this community deserves to be listened to, and they deserve the kind of services that they have had for generations. Over to you, Ros.
Ros Bates, Shadow Minister for Health and Ambulance Services and Registered Nurse. Well, as David just mentioned, it's 300 days since the city that holds 60,000 people has been on bypass or closed for maternity services. What sort of Queensland are we living in where a city of 60,000 people cannot have babies being born in their own local area? That mothers are being forced to drive to Rockhampton to take the chance of giving birth on the side of the road is just appalling. This is a government that has given up on listening to the people of Gladstone. And where is Yvette Darth? Where is the Health Minister? How often has Yvette Darth been here to Gladstone in this term since this crisis started? All we see from Yvette Darth is crisis and chaos and no solutions. Yvette Darth was apparently invited today to this gathering and chose not to come. Well, unlike Yvette Darth, the LNP, David Crisafulli and myself and our entire team are listening to the people of Queensland. Queenslanders deserve a world-class health system no matter where they live. Yvette Darth is the worst health minister that Queensland has ever seen. Yvette Darth is a fraud, a phony and a failure, and if Anastasia Palaszczuk wasn't so busy on the red carpet and checked out, she would have sacked Yvette Darth months ago. Bryson?
The people of Gladstone have never had a local member that has failed them so much. 300 days today since the Gladstone maternity ward went on bypass, and the fact remains that it would have never gone on bypass if Glenn Butcher, their local member, was fighting for the people of Gladstone from the very beginning. The people of Gladstone deserve better. He has said to his community that he would resign if these services were not restored, and now today marks 300 days, and Glenn Butcher has still not delivered on his commitment to the people of Gladstone to resign. I care about local maternity services because the fact is that I won't have a community if key services like this aren't delivered to key communities in rural and regional Queensland like Gladstone. Myself, the opposition, the LNP, are going to continue fighting to see these core services restored, because Queenslanders deserve a world-class health system, and my community deserves services that they need, deserve and used to have.
Gemma doesn't need much introduction, but I thought the opportunity for you to say a few words, and thank you very much for raising it, and thanks for putting this on today.
Thanks to everyone in the team from the LNP who's come along today. You're right, we've invited the Premier, the Health Minister, a whole host of local decision makers as well. And I've had an automated response only from the Premier's office, and it was late last week that I heard back from the Health Minister's office, and she had a prior commitment so couldn't come. But I still haven't heard from the Premier's office to indicate whether or not she was able to come. We're really upset that we've reached 300 days. When it was first announced on the 8th of July last year, we thought surely this isn't something that will last long, and CQHHS and our elected member would fight for things and make sure that this could change. And here we are today, 300 days later. So to put that into perspective, that's nearly 600 mums who have birthed babies in this time. That's 600 mums almost who have had uncertainty and trauma, constant anxiety, which is less than ideal when we're pregnant and have labour approaching soon. It's just not ideal. Mums here want this fixed. There has been some change to the circumstances of the bypass, where some mums who are 37 weeks and over with no known risks can birth here, but half of the mums who should still be able to birth here cannot do that. Half of the mums who are still normally able to birth here are still being transferred to Rockhampton. Things like inductions are not happening in Gladstone, and normally before the bypass that is something that would normally happen here. And it's not happening here in Gladstone at the moment. So those mums are still being transferred. There's mums who are far away from their families, waiting for an induction, or with uncertain circumstances, far away from their families and their loved ones. It's just less than ideal, and we need this fixed, and we need to make sure that this never happens again.